my blood changed from dark brown to bright red. I had been doing nothing else, no chemo, no radiation. And I looked at that and I said, oh my God, this is absolutely powerful. What's going on in my body, I don't know. I also felt that the very strict healing diet I was put on, and I wasn't put on that brown rice diet of the 60s, if some of you remember that, but it wasn't too far removed from that. I could have no oils. All I could do was boil, use a pressure cooker, and if I was to use maybe little nishimi style, little water, you know, to boil or steam vegetables. I was just strictly on mostly brown rice, but other grains, beans, sea vegetables, lots of dark leafy greens, and that was it. Beans, grains, vegetables, sea vegetables, and it was a very difficult healing diet. Someone just asked me, why do some people live and some people die? All I can say is that it is a challenge. I'm not going to paint an easy, rosy picture. It is a challenge to be on the diet. The reason I hired this wonderful lady to help me cook is because I was told by Mark from Cowenberg not to convert my children at the time, who ranged from the ages of 8 to 16. I had 4 children at home. And he said, do not try to change them. You're too weak. You cook for yourself. When you get better, then you work on them. So I used to be checked by my medical doctor once a month. Mind you, I'm getting a little better, a little stronger every month. Still very weak the first year, but she knew what I was doing, but never really asked until many years later about the tremendous impact this diet had on putting me into total remission. Within about a year, about 16 months, they told me I was in total remission. There was absolutely no evidence of the cancer that was left inside of me.
6 months?
15 to 16 months. Oh. Well, 6 months I started feeling a little better, but I was still very weak. I did no herbal remedies, no supplements at the time. I was strictly on a macrobiotic diet. I will talk about stress and lifestyle a little later. 22 months after this prognosis, back in March of '86, I conceived a child. This I felt, you're great, I love you. This I felt was my own promise to God, and there's a real spiritual side to my healing. I promised God that I would give him life back with life if he walked me through this struggle. And immediately, 3 doctors told me to have an abortion. They told me I would never live through the pregnancy, I would die, or the child, or the infant would die, the fetus would die. So I went on a retreat and prayed a lot alone, one weekend, and came back and made a decision that I would go on with the pregnancy. And 9 months later, after a few sonograms, because they told me my child wasn't growing big enough inside of me, but Joseph Matthew McKenna was born healthy, happy. I delivered him naturally, and I was well and he was well, and he just turned 21 years old a few months ago. That's a broad overview. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about lifestyle and stress. I'm very honest about the kind of lifestyle that I was leading between I'd say the 10 years prior to getting cancer. I'm a firm believer that cancer is a lot about stress and about beating up your immune system. There's no doubt about it. I subscribe to the theory of acid-alkaline balance, being filled with acidosis. If you think that emotions and thoughts are acid, between that and my standard American diet, I must have been about 100% acid in my body. I believe that the alkalizing effect of the diet and the cleansing effect that these foods have is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's so hard for many of us Westerners to really comprehend these macrobiotic principles, which started in Japan by a gentleman who was actually a medically trained doctor named Dr. Seigen Ishizuka. George Ozawa brought these principles to Europe and the United States, and then of course Mr. Kushi was his student. But I have to tell you that macrobiotics has to become a lifestyle. It cannot be just diet. And I just came from a conference in Santa Barbara and called Health Classics, and I encourage many of you next year, next November, it's going to be their 20th year of having this conference, and we talked a lot about that at the dinner table, about lifestyle and stress and trying to have it all. I believe that you have to really, really change everything in your life and convert everything in your life and become more peaceful. Now, the diet is the beginning part of it. Certainly, I'll tell you a great story about an attorney in 1992 who was about 40 pounds overweight with malignant melanoma, was given the same prognosis pretty much that I was, and he asked me about the diet, got his entire family engaged, went on the diet, lost 40 pounds, and has never had a cancer recurrence since 1992. He's probably one of the last people I ever thought would go on the diet, but just because of the types of foods and the peacefulness that in the peaceful state that he got himself involved in, his whole way of life became so different, so de-stressed. He was so type A as I was, and he put his priorities in different places. And you'll see that in many of us who go around speaking to groups like yours. Now, I'm going to tell you why I'm here. I'm here because cancer is an epidemic. There was President Nixon started this so-called war on cancer back about 30 years ago, 35 years ago. We have spent about $50 billion on research, and do any of you know how much the cancer death rate has dropped in that period of time? Anyone want to guess?
Mom?
No one has. Yes, sir.
Probably 75%. Wait, no, that's too much.
It is a little too much, but it's a good guess. Anyone else want to guess? No. He said 75%.
2%.
Very close. 5%. 5% drop in the cancer death rate, and can you believe that? 5%. Anyway, in the last 30 years. So fundamentally, there's a shift going on in our society. And I do see a lot of wonderful people. Like I was at this conference, Dr. Gordon Sachs, S-A-X-E, if you want to research what he's doing. He's a medical doctor, has a master's in public health. He's teaches at UCSD, University of California at San Diego, And he is starting a center for integrative nutrition, integrative medicine, excuse me. And he spearheaded this because he's been involved in macrobiotics for about 10 or 15 years. Tried to get his dad on the diet when his dad had prostate cancer. And he is committed to bringing nutrition, holistic health, acupuncture, shiatsu, and all Eastern. He wants the East to meet West, and he will do it. Gordon is very committed. There's also a lot of great things going on with the gentleman you saw in the video, Dr. George Yu. When Dr. Yu was the primary researcher for the Best Case series for macrobiotics, he then started researching other nutrition therapies and is right now putting together the Best Case series for the Hippocrates program. So there's a lot of wonderful research and a lot of wonderful things going on in the scientific community, and I think doctors are finally, unlike the reaction they had with me, where they dismissed it and told me I was going to die and, you know, all of that. I was going to die of macrobiotics. Sorry, not cancer, macrobiotics. And now I left out a large part. Did I leave out? What did I leave out? Yeah? Anything? So, this is my one of my wonderful sons, by the way.
You kept telling him that you weren't dead, right? You just kept...
I kept telling them I wasn't dead, yeah. It didn't matter.
They thought you were going to die.
Yeah. Huh?
They thought maybe you would die the next year or something?
That wonderful dermatologist actually who was in the video with me actually flew out to LA with me once to be on a show called, if any of you remember Dr. Will Miller's show, it was called The Other Side, and he actually had people that used alternative therapy, I hate that word, but other than traditional therapies to cure themselves of disease. I think people are turning away from chemotherapy and radiation because I think finally people are realizing that it hasn't really extended anyone's lifestyle at all. And although we get criticized a great deal in the macrobiotic community, and well, you know, I have people saying to me all the time, well, I know someone, but they died. And okay, well, let me tell you what Dr. Yu told me. Between even Hippocrates and macrobiotics has about a 30 to 35%, if you want to call it, success rate. There are so many variables that go on. A support group is what I had in a wonderful small community in Rhode Island that trained me to cook, and I ate with them, just like you people do here on Mondays. We ate Friday night meals together. I needed that support group because nobody else around me, friends or whatever, were very supportive, okay? There's so many variables to someone's healing. There's not like a one center that you really can go to other than the Kushi Institute and, oh, I'm sorry, you have the Vega Center up here, did you? The Vega Center, I believe, in Northern California?
Yeah, we used to.
Oh, it's not around anymore?
No.
Oh, okay, there was a center up here. So it's hard to follow that one person or those people. What they're finding, and I'm glad you had Colin Campbell here. I was on the Holistic Health Holiday at Sea Cruise with Dr. Campbell this year and interviewed him for my newsletter. What they're finding is a plant-based diet and a calorie-restricted diet, which is low in protein, but high in complex carbohydrates, is really what is killing those tumors off. Because tumors can't grow in that environment. And you mentioned Dr. Campbell's great study, the China study, and that's what that was all about. Now, I'm just going to open it up. I did what I had to do. But if any of you have questions, I'm really very open as to what happened to me. And I'm sure Damien would love to talk about his great experience with natto. But anyway.
I would like to know about your diet beforehand. You said it was standard American, but
Oh, what was it like?
you know, how good it was. Was it average, or was it really bad, or was it pretty good?
You missed a great segment in this DVD where my son Damien said she was a lousy before macrobiotics. Standard American diet, chicken, pork chops, Damien.
Potatoes.
What else? I don't know.
Bad steaks.
Bad steaks, canned vegetables, certainly no grains. I don't even think I knew what a grain was. But you know, I'm not going to, really criticize myself. I introduced grains to nurses, and I'm shocked that when I talk about millet and couscous, people, what's that? But no, I didn't. Just standard American diet: potatoes, fries, fried food.
Italian.
Hot dogs, beans?
Italian.
Oh, Italian food. I'm Italian-American, by the way. So, yeah, lots of pasta, lots of tomato sauce.
Cheese.
What'd you say?
Did you eat much dairy?
Oh, love dairy. Lots of dairy, lots of sugar. Oh, yeah. I used to. Yeah. I brought copies of my book if any of you like that. Buy one, and it's so funny. I talk about having jelly beans in my drawer at work, and at 3 o'clock, the sugar low time. And then I used to sit up at night, watch TV, wait for my husband to come home and have fudge at around 10 or 11. Yeah, I was a sugarholic.